So let's talk about Prey. So this movie, I was excited when I heard the concept of it. Before I'd seen any footage, like any trailers or anything, I was in the bag because of just the setting for this movie.
I remember I heard like some rumblings about it. I'm like, that's cool. That sounds like a good idea.
Because for years there's been people, like anybody that's been a fan of Predator, I guarantee has said this. You could just drop him in any time period and have a cool Predator movie. It really is just some sort of conflict. Predator drops in.
Predator in the Samurai Times.
I saw some of that. I've seen. I saw ones of like like King Arthur, Old England. Middle Ages. I think there's a fan film that does that, but like
Aztecs.
No, I mean you could
Mayans.
You could really put him anywhere, and it would work. And I think that this movie executes that.
Cottage industry.
It's such a brilliant, focused movie, and it's short.
It's a crisp 96 minutes.
It's such a good
crisp
action movie, such a fun movie. It really blew my mind how much I enjoyed this movie. Like I was just entertained the whole time.
It's the way that the movie is done and the way it's shot and the way and everything and written and acted. It's just it gives the viewer a lot of credit, which is what makes movies good.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of movies that really make you pull in and focus.
I think at one point they say like the Great Northern Plains 1719, and that's like the only exposition you really get, and that's all you really need. I mean, you're aware if you went through public school, you're aware of the fact that there were Native Americans once upon this land, and so on.
Yeah,
so,
hence their name being Native, because they were here.
Right, but the thing is the way that it's just portrayed is, again, like we were just talking about with dropping you right in the action. It doesn't drop you right in the action, but it does drop you right into a place and expects you to just be like, hey, this is the way things are done.
Within the first 10 minutes,
and we're not gonna do a bunch of exposition about how they live. We're just gonna show it.
In the first 10 minutes, you see the Predator ship.
Yeah,
because it's literally the Predator ship, and there's a really cool transition where it scrolls down and it just says "Prey" in the sky, and then it just scrolls back down. Like it was just there's so the cinematography is so good in this movie.
So beautiful.
I even commented on it when I was watching it with my wife. I was just like, it's shot really well.
When they dropped the Predator off, that whole sequence, I really liked how they, because it's right after whatever, it's maybe 10 minutes in or whatever, but it's where the ship just kind of drops in and goes visible for a second and then goes invisible and takes off, and then you see the Predator stand up. They basically just dropped him off. And there's that whole valley. He's on that cliff overlooking that valley. And I thought it was really great that they just gave the viewer, you're not even thinking about it, but you're memorizing this tableau. You're memorizing this view. And it pays off about 20 minutes later when she goes back out to hunt and she makes camp on that exact fucking cliff where they dropped him off.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, cool," cuz that's another way of telling you that she's near his lair, or that she's near him, without saying like, I really liked how there wasn't, the words were, the action told the story a lot more than the script did, which I really liked.
Yeah.
Sorry, was I boring you?
There was not a ton of dialogue.
What was that?
I had a point to make, but I wanted to let you finish.
Such a bastard.
How dare I not speak and interrupt you and let you talk? What a novel idea.
Ladies and gentlemen, he was lollygagging his head to the side with his tongue out like, good God.
Yeah, get to your fucking
How long
point.
are you going to fucking talk? Okay. Oh, now you got to cough. Well, okay. I'll vamp.
Yeah, keep going. Fucking dick. Anyway.
Okay.
Any Hoosiers.
We had to stop for a fight.
Yeah. And the point I was going to make is gone. Just into the ether. Gone. Because you had him pointed out.
We were talking about the scenery. Okay.
I know. No, that's one of the themes that I really love about this movie, is the theme of These two are constantly within proximity of each other, but they don't finally meet until the third act of the movie, and that's brilliant. There's even a part where he would have killed her, but he didn't see her as a threat, and like, oh, by the way, shit, I forgot.
Whatever.
Oh no, hold on, we gotta.
We will.
We gotta do it. We gotta do it.
Fine.
Pizza time.
Yeah.
We're in spoilers now. Sorry. Even though we definitely talked.
We
about
do
it.
need to do it because it's kind of our thing.
Yeah.
And when we have, and I knew that we hadn't before we started talking about it, but I was like, you know what? If you listen to this show, you know we're not gonna waste much time.
Yeah.
I mean, there really isn't any
Pizza
point.
time.
Just in case.
But sorry if you've.
But no,
We didn't really spoil too much anyway.
What I really liked about this movie too is, you're right. There's not a ton of dialogue, but we still get a ton of visual, environmental storytelling that builds up these characters.
If you know anything about history of the Americas, you know that there were French trappers and stuff, and you know,
Well, and yeah,
when they show up and they're speaking French, you know what they want. And stuff.
I think they do a really great job of showing the struggle that these early American civilizations had as hunter-gatherers.
Yeah.
And where, now we do it as
And what
sport.
these
They were
fuckers
doing
did
it
to
for
fucking
survival.
buffalo just for their pelts and how. I mean, you think about.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. Oh
we'll
man.
Get to that.
Do we have to? Yeah. Don't get me started.
Well, I know, but I wanted to finish making my point. But with what they did with Amber Mid Thunder and her storytelling was great. But what I also really loved is how the Predator was learning how to keep stepping up the hunt, how to keep getting the bigger predator each time. Because we see this really cool shot. I will say some of the animal CG didn't look the best in this movie, but
no, but I'm willing to forgive it.
The
'cause
really
it was really
cool shot
looking.
with the
when they went from one to the
rat,
next,
and you see the rat going around, and then you see
the snake
a
gets
snake
its-
attack
Well,
it.
first it eats the fly, then the
and
snake
you see
gets the. Yep.
yeah, you see how nature works,
Yeah.
and then to see the predator
The
finally
wolf
kill the snake.
chasing the rabbit was cool too.
Oh my god, that wolf scene was fucking
Right?
awesome. Yeah, and again, there's so much of this movie that is great, and it doesn't waste any time. You literally okay, here's
yeah.
Amber Mid Thunder, her tribe, her story that she's and then
It's
here's
a pretty
the predator.
it's pretty straightforward.
They're
you know?
gonna meet at some point.
Hey, guess what? Ancient civilizations like this one, they women generally did this and men generally did this. So you can tell right off the bat that she's not happy doing the women's work. You know what I mean? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and that's fine.
And I will say this, and I will only address it for this part.
But it's very obvious right away. You know, it's not. Yeah.
And anybody that says this movie is like some woke or feminist agenda are just fucking losers and don't validate their opinion.
Hey, is this the 8th Predator movie before we had a female lead?
I think this is, if you count AVP.
I mean,
this
I
is
want
the
to talk about that
no,
CBR
yeah, listen,
article later. But
if you count AVP, it's the 7th movie. So it's this finally in the 7th movie of the franchise.
You goddamn woke bastards! It took you. You know what? I remember when I saw the first Predator in 1987. I was like,
but
before you know it, in 40 years, they're gonna have a.
What I'm saying is, it doesn't matter. It really wouldn't matter if it was a man or a woman in the role.
No.
Like her being a woman doesn't even add to that, because she says she just does it because people don't.
But her performance, you can't replicate.
And there's societies women could hunt if they were
Sure.
good enough. Women could, if they thought that they could do it, they would do it.
Sure, it was clear, like when they were when she was talking to her brother, that she could have a Catamilia,
Yeah, the like rite of passage
or something. Yeah, the hunt, that final adult hunt or whatever. When they were talking, it was clear that she could take one. It's just that, I mean, clearly by the actions and the words of like the other tribes guys, the other hunters, when they were all together, were like, she doesn't know anything because she's a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
So what this could have also been titled was Prey: The Predator versus Animals, because this not only does he fuck up a wolf, he fucks up a bear too.
Dude, speaking of the CGI, I completely and totally forgive all of the wonky CGI during that moment. That scene had a couple of...
Which one?
The bear fighting scene.
The bear one looked bad.
It looked pretty bad. There were
But I loved it. I was in it.
right. I was like, I don't give a shit.
It did not break my immersion at all.
Right. I remember reading something about. I remember I read a spoiler-free review, and it was talking about how Amber Midthunder and Dakota Beavers were really good, and how except for some questionable CGI, it's like a 5-star movie, you know. And I remember reading about that, and I think I knew that there was a couple of CGI shots. I think the one we were talking about with the rabbit or with the rat and the fly and the
Yeah.
I think there were a couple parts during that. But then the bear was like very obviously like,
look,
oh, this is what they were talking about.
For me,
But who gives a shit?
For
It was
me,
fucking
I
Predator wrestling a bear.
I know I've always been and I'll agree. I wish we could have done it with real animals, just because I'm always someone that's
Sure.
that like
Yeah.
I feel it's silly to see, but I understand like they don't want to have any problems with. It can
Well,
be-
you'd have to
it's-
train a bear
it's a
to get
it's a
murdered
liability.
by yeah.
It's a liability, and there's no
It's
way.
not worth
There's
it.
no way you could shoot picking up the bear. There's no way you could shoot that. You have to CG that. There's no way. But anyway,
But yeah, totally forgiven.
so yeah,
It was so I was
I
so
wanna-
on the
I
edge
wanna-
of my seat that I didn't give a shit.
I want to talk about the Predator fighting non-humans. I do want to talk. I just want to talk about him fighting the wolf and the bear before we talk about anything, because the kills in this movie are brutal, are nasty, and they're fucking awesome. And this
Dude, that
this,
net
they're
that
so-
he uses on the fucking
when he
fur
burns
trapper.
him into the ground through
No, it was a fucking net that just contracted and was made of steel, and it just contracted and made him into fucking hamburger, dude.
yeah.
There's a little thing on the bottom of the rock, and
wolf-
it just
The wolf fight was insane, because first of all, Ashley and I agree, it's bullshit that he stays invisible when it's hand-to-hand combat.
yeah, fuck you, dude. I was just saying, you know what? The Predator isn't all that much of a sportsman.
Yeah, because he stayed invisible.
Dick.
If the very least, if you're one-on-one fighting the thing, you should take your cloak off and fight it. But no, yeah, that
Pussy.
whole sequence is gnarly, because again, it's the second time we see the rabbit, then we see this wolf fucking eat this rabbit, and then boom, but when he finally gets the rabbit, and then the Predator comes out of nowhere and
Yeah.
tackles it,
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
And again, that's what's so cool is that visual environmental storytelling, showing the food chain right in front of him, so he knows, okay, I go after the wolf.
There were
fight the
there were a
wolf.
lot of there were a lot of sequences you could tell were storyboarded and like, okay, we got to show it like this and this and this for added effect. There were a couple of frames during that wolf thing that were like, you know, the
Like,
CGI, but again, I don't
think
give
the
a
wolf,
shit.
I think the wolf looked fine. I think the most egregious one was by far the bear.
Absolutely. But dude, who cares? It was
'Cause you
so
can't-
good.
You can't shoot that scene with a real bear.
No.
You can't.
No. It was so good. I didn't give a shit,
Yeah.
really.
But that
I was terrified when I realized how easy it was for that bear to climb up to where she was. I was like, "Oh shit."
people forget that bears can climb very
yeah,
fast.
fucking
They're-
shit.
Well, that's what I mean. And again,
Fucking shit, Uncle Clem.
it's cool to see this thing fight apex predators. It's fun. And
Yeah, that was cool.
Ashley was like, I remember we were sitting there and we were watching it, and it is kind of like, because the whole time I'm watching, she has Sorry, her dog. Is it Sorry or
Sorry.
Sorry, and Naru is her character name.
Yeah.
That dog was great, and beautiful dog acting.
Very good boy.
Apparently, they adopted that dog and it had no training before the movie, so they had to train it while they're doing it.
Very good boy.
But the whole time, I'm like, please don't tell me he's gonna kill that dog. And then,
I'm really glad the dog made it.
yes, me too. And then at the end,
Hate it when they
or
kill
then
a
it-
dog.
and then after I have those thoughts,
Looking at you, Turner and Hooch.
it looks to it goes to the wolf scene where he just fucks up that wolf, and then I was like, oh Jesus, when he cuts the head off
Right.
and actually pulls out the spinal column.
But speaking of,
But again, that's a good throwback to the original movie.
right. Speaking of the really cool like CGI Nature's Way or whatever shots.
Yeah.
What about the really cool POV shot of the hawk getting hit by the arrow? When her and Tabe
Oh, yeah,
are
yeah.
both hunting,
He's
and he's just like, "Fuck you," and she was like, "I was waiting for it to circle back." But there's a
then you have to
moment
cross the river
where
to
the
get it.
bird is just flying along, and then phew, and it's like they did a lot of that with the Predator's arrows too, which was kind of cool.
Oh, and that's another thing I
Like
like.
POV shots and whatnot.
about this too with this Predator. It is a different because in the comics, and I haven't read them because I'm gonna go off on a little diatribe here. Fuck Marvel, okay? Because all of the Dark Horse comics are not available online, and I went on Comixology because this is what I'm saying. This is why this is a great movie. Because it reignited my love for this franchise. So I was going to go on Comixology and see if there were some books I could pick up. And because I never read the Dark Horse books, and everybody loves those books.
Yeah, they were fantastic.
But now Marvel owns the license. So I can't look at them digitally. Or the only way I could do it is go maybe hopefully get them on a deal at a comic shop somewhere. But I was just like, that's fucking shitty. Because now I know they're going to re-release them, and they're going to jack up their prices. Because they own the IP now.
Well,
so.
doesn't somebody have doesn't Disney have like the Digimon license, but they're not doing anything with it, but they also won't sell it?
Well, clearly they know
Disney has a shitload of properties that they're not doing anything with.
Yeah,
and they won't sell them.
But that's what I mean is like that's what sucks is I know that they know
I don't give a shit about Digimon,
that they can make Predator a viable franchise again. So you know they're going to resell those comics and then shoot up the price, and I'm going to be like, fuck you. But anyway, in the comics, they do establish...
Black heroin.
They establish the name... I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Yatu is the name of the species. And they are, like we saw in Predators, you haven't seen it, but in Predators, they set up a storyline that there are two warring tribes on the planet, which is also in the comics. And so what we're seeing in this movie is a more primal version of that species, of the Yatu or whatever, because even his helmet is just a skull with a laser on it. And I think it was smart to make him more low tech than the Predator that we've seen in other movies.
Yeah,
because then it's really gonna break your.
Although he had a badass shit, dude.
But he still had
some cool shit.
But I love that they kept the signature blades, and they still gave him some really cool tech. But his he literally most you see of him was with a collapsible shield.
That thing was cool too.
And oh god,
especially when he was going after her, and that moment was like
that was insane. That shot was insane.
Her neck's like that fucking. You're like, oh!
But let's wrap up talking about the bear fight.
No,
I want to talk about again, what this movie does so well is like you and I were talking about earlier. It really makes you feel
it's very visceral,
dangerous at all times. But that's what it was like living at that time.
Yep.
Like that mountain lion scene. And this is what's so brilliant about it. They set it up as being the Predator, but it's a fucking mountain lion instead, and it's still horrifying. Like, that was so good.
Same thing with the bear.
Right. And that's what I was getting to. The bear sequence, when he's fucking
Dude,
climbing at her, I'm like, Jesus
that
Christ.
Time, well, first he couldn't do it, so then he's like, well, I'll just go around, which was like even more terrifying.
Yeah, because bears are smart.
Dude, yeah, the shot where he's climbing up and the dog's trying to bark and get his attention.
I'm like, don't kill the dog. Don't kill the
dog. But dude, that time, living in that time was the literal definition of fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to pretend to hunt. Well, that thing killed you now. How do you feel?
Which immediately makes you think
Dumbass.
of like the shit your ancestors had to deal with just to keep your bloodline
going. We are
going.
pampered little punk asses.
It did. So yeah. Let's
so you don't have to fight for your meals, you fucking pussies.
I gotta say, let's transition and talk about Amber Mid-Thunder for a bit before we talk about the Predator again. Because we haven't even got to him fucking eviscerating. You know what? Fuck it. Let's talk about him eviscerating those French dudes. Holy shit, that was awesome.
Cool. Mainly because you realize, as a student of history, you realize that Europeans coming over to this continent was the worst thing that ever happened. Granted, to this continent. Granted, I wouldn't be here, but these fucking fucksticks literally would skin animals and then leave them dead.
Yeah, and
they wouldn't kill them. They wouldn't take
set
anything
that up in the movie
else
to make you think the Predator did it.
Right, but as soon as they did, I was like, "There's skulls."
See, but that's the thing.
And he wouldn't do that many.
No, he wouldn't even bother. They're not a threat to him.
Well,
they're not a predator.
What led me to understand it wasn't the Predators was A, they still have their skulls, and B, there was more than like one of them, and it's like you only need one, right?
And again,
and then she found the cigar.
He wouldn't see those buffalo or whatever they,
Right? He probably wouldn't.
He wouldn't view them as predators.
Probably wouldn't. Yeah.
So he would leave them.
But Yeah, I mean, when you realize like how fucked up that was, that like nobody was. I mean, how many creatures, how many types of animals did they extinct just by? Oh, we need to get these to the market for rich ladies. You know,
And,
it's like fuck
yeah,
you.
And I love that they only spoke in French and they never subtitled it. Because again, it puts you in the shoes of Naru, and like she wouldn't understand what they're saying, so you don't know what they're saying.
It's very effective because you really have to.
It's disorienting,
You have to find the clues in the pantomime, what they're doing,
Yes.
their body language, and because I can't understand French.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was really really cool. I really liked how they peppered. The language. I wish they would have spoke. I'm gonna have to watch the Comanche version just because I loved the language.
Yeah,
it was such a neat. Did you try to follow along when they were speaking on the subtitles?
Yeah,
Like-
I want to go back and watch it with the Comanche with like the Comanche dub with subs on it.
Because the
Ashley said we should have watched it that way, and I was like, yeah, but
yeah, I
I'd
watched.
already started the movie.
So I watched just the regular version or whatever. So so I watched with subtitles. So when they were speaking English, it would say in English,
yeah,
and then they would show
prep her
in
the
Comanche.
yeah.
And the thing was, you could see how it was spelled and everything, and all the umlauts and whatnot. And it's very bizarre because, okay, a word like because, okay, say like a phrase, a phrase, I was there, right?
Yeah.
Or I was walking, right? Walking is 2 syllables, so you would say I was walking, right? But but the way that they do it was the way that their words trying to follow along. It was more like I was walking, and it was like how like the way they spoke the words was just really fucking broken up and shit compared to like how it was spelled. It was as a musician.
Oh my god.
I fucking hate
No,
you.
Amber Mid Thunder was great in this movie.
I loved her. Her eyes really made her performance
She did
really
a lot of physical work in this movie. Yeah.
compared to a lot of other people in the movie too. She had bigger eyes, I think, like compared to and a lot of the hunters like had face paint and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like when she was like wide-eyed, the whites of her eyes were like so prominent.
I think it's because she had the black paint.
Maybe, yeah, but I mean that was one thing about her performance that like, especially when her brother got the war chief thing and she was just staring at him, like you could feel the emotions that she was going through just in that stare, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, and again, for people that say like she was a Mary Sue or whatever, clearly didn't watch this movie because
She's a what?
A Mary Sue.
What's that?
She's overpowered. How do you not know what a Mary Sue means?
What's
Mary Sue is when a character like Rey in Star Wars seems to just know how the fucking Force works and can grab a Force lightsaber.
Why
when
is it
she
Mary
first-
Sue though?
I don't know the fucking origins of the fucking phrase, all right? Jesus Christ. Point is,
Fucking pissed.
because you should
I
know.
don't fucking know.
You
the
should know what
fucking
these
origins
terms
of
are.
the fucking phrase, fucking Mary Sue, man.
Well, because you fucking fucked me on the point I was trying to make. Anyway.
she's not a Mary Sue, cuz.
Yes, she's not overpowered and isn't. She fails constantly in this movie. She couldn't kill the mountain lion. Her brother did it. If anybody's a Mary Sue, it's her brother because he's great at everything he
Yeah,
does.
he's like a mystical warrior.
Which, again, makes her story, I think, more compelling because she is trying to be like, I can do this. I'm not you, but I know there's something going on. There's something else.
I think
And-
the best thing was I think one of them said, why do you want to prove that you can hunt so much? And she said, because none of you think I can.
Which I don't
Which
think,
is a very good reason.
which I don't think is a woke plot line because you could stick any person, any gender.
Hey Tyler.
Because everybody has had that feeling of trying to prove someone wrong.
Hey Tyler. Why do you want to release albums so much? Because none of you think I can.
Exactly. Anyway, no, she's.
I got very excited just now.
I think she did a great job of showing that raw tenacity of what it would be like to live in that era. And
There's one review that talked about how she used a lot of her body language to tell the story, which was very true. And her parents are, I think I told you this, her parents are stunt performers.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, fair.
Well, dude,
That makes total sense.
Another scene that I think is what's so great about this movie is it builds legitimate tension out of its timepiece, out of its time period. Because again, living in that time fucking sucked, and I don't know how people did it. I don't even know how people live without TV, to be honest. But but I think like for example the mountain lion situation, or when she's in that sink pit, and you think she's gonna drown in the mud, and like that's such a great moment of her pulling herself out of it, and
You know, and by the way,
surviving.
Dan Trachtenberg, way to fucking misdirect me, man. I literally was like, oh, that's how she finds out she can hide from the predator.
Right.
Nope.
that's exactly what I said to
Nope.
Ashley. I said
It's
the same
a fucking
thing.
flower, dude.
I
yeah.
said the same thing. I said
You
that's how
thought the
she's
same
gonna learn
thing?
the mud.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, cool, because
That'd
about
be a
to show
callback
up.
to the first movie. So that was great. I
Of
thought
course we're
this.
right there, man.
Yeah.
But then it fakes us out because it was like, no, it's a flower, and it was like, oh, that's even cooler.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing too.
And when she kills the fucking, yeah, we'll get to that.
is her her learning out that people still don't think after all that she's done that she's a threat, and she provides, and she rightfully so, because she had a chance to kill the predator and couldn't. But then she finally learns to use the flowers and use things that she already knew with her medicine to outsmart the predator.
The part where the French trappers catch her back in the camp, when she goes back to rescue Sadi, and
Yeah.
they catch her, and she like
just murders 4 dudes.
right, but like for a little while it's touch and go, like, you know, because she's one person against 4 guys with like, you know, guns and knives and
They're
shit,
about to
right?
kill her dog.
Ruthless
Savages.
fuckers, right? Yeah. So for a second, you know, for a couple of seconds, it's touch and go, and then she gets the upper hand, you know, just by pure force of will, and finally gets her fucking tomahawk going,
Which
with
was
the, with
such a
the,
cool weapon.
right?
Who would have thought?
You need a leash for your weapon. Like, yeah, well, you're about to get hacked in
Oh,
half,
dude.
bro.
When the predator takes that axe and flips it and chops that dude, I was like, holy shit.
There were a lot of cool kills in that movie,
Yeah.
dude.
Well, yeah, she's great, and she does such a great job that you are really rooting for her to kill the predator at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah,
And the way that she kills him by using his own tech against him,
perfect.
genius. And then she has
And of course there's
she
those
has the line
assholes
from the
with-
first movie, the come on, like
Come
she's-
on.
do it.
And we talked about how her brother gets to say, if it bleeds, we can kill it, which,
Yeah.
by the way, was said, the script was written so well that even
I
though
totally
you
forgot
knew,
he said that.
even though you knew it was coming, I knew it was coming, you know, like, okay,
Yeah.
what they're talking about and stuff. It was delivered with sincerity, and to be really honest, it wasn't like, so many of those callbacks can just be such a big wink.
I think they were smart in
know
only
what I
having
mean?
a
Like-
few. Yeah.
You know, like, you can almost feel the movie going like, you see my eye, I winked, and like, yeah, we fucking got it.
But
okay?
and that's another thing I love
but
too.
not this one.
Another thing I love too is they actually showed the process of him using the acid to clean the skulls, because you had seen it here and there, but you've never actually seen it evaporate. And I was like, oh, that was cool.
I hope by the time he got done, he's like, the skull's kind of puny.
And again, what this movie exceeds at doing in what the first movie does really well, and the second movie's fine. But I think this movie and the first Predator are doing a great job of playing by the Jaws rule of not really showing him until the end.
Yeah, yeah.
And we see glimpses of this Predator throughout the movie, but we don't really fully see him until he fucks up the traitors, which is awesome. But and that's, I think, a great way to
Traders, not traders, by the way. The French dudes. Okay.
the French fur
For a
trade.
second, I thought you said traders, and I was like,
Traders.
no, I know what you
The
meant.
scalp.
But I thought, so I
not scalpers.
passed it along. Fur traders.
Fur traders. There you go.
fucking-
Those
Those butt fuckers. You know what? There probably was a lot of butt fucking going on.
Yeah, who
You know,
knows?
they're stuck away from their wives.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, oui,
Jacques
oui.
Lebrun.
Oh, I've had too much wine. Jacques.
Jake? But you said Jock? 'Cause it's
You said Jake, dude. I don't know,
You
man.
talking to me?
Not there's anything wrong with that.
But I think that's what makes a good
It's
Predator
love.
movie is really waiting to really, because we know what the Predator looks like, and
Mm.
you can have different. And I like that this is clearly a different Predator than what we're used to seeing.
That fucking net, though, man. Fuck.
Well, and then the when it
'Cause there's
when
one-
it's, when he's following the tribe though, and he has the lasers on him, and you and I both thought this, it's gonna be a blaster, and then it was the fucking arrows, and I
But
was
then
like, oh shit.
but then the dots started moving apart.
Yeah, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
and then
right,
boom,
dude.
boom, boom, boom.
Dude, when he was riding around him on the horse and like just
Yeah.
just fucking dodging the things or whatever, it was like, yeah, this is cool, man. When she when she gives up the French dude, and while he's involved with hacking that dude, she just comes up behind him and fucking blows his fucking head off with the pistol and shit, and steals his helmet. And there was so much, I can't remember all the shit she said in the speech that she gives to the guy, but she's like, you don't see me killing you, and he won't either, and it won't either, or whatever.
Yeah.
It was like, God damn, that's just cool.
Well,
and
before
she takes the gun and she just
Also,
puts her own face paint on in front of him.
Also, if anybody wants to complain about her again, how could she beat a predator? The predator was severely wounded, okay? Because he fights the brother. The brother's kicking his ass because he jumps up, sticks a spear through his chest.
Yeah,
and then
brother takes him pretty hardcore to the ground.
Again, her brother is the real Mary Sue because he gets the advantage on this predator before the predator.
Oh, and don't forget that before they got hacked to pieces, the other hunters get a couple arrows in him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have complete armor all over everything.
Yeah. He's not.
He gets hit with at least one or two arrows during that moment when he first shows up and she's got her hands tied.
But that whole sequence is great, and that fight with her brother, and then like the getting him stabbed to the chest. I was like, because I knew he was gonna die. I was like, shit.
Duh.
But then that fight, and then the predator cuts its own fucking arm off with his shield. I was like, what?
That was
Because it was
cool
stuck
as
in the.
shit.
Because it
Yeah.
was stuck, and it was like, fuck it. And it just chops its arm off. I'm like, damn.
Dude.
That's another thing. It was a one-armed predator. That's how she beat it. If you want to be, if you want to be a shitbag about it.
Blind purple people eater.
But the fur trader scene when he takes that fucking bear trap and chucks it at that guy and just cuts his head, like just explodes his head. I was like, Jesus.
There were so many cool kills in that moment. And the cool thing about, not the cool thing.
Yeah, but he shoots that net on that guy and it just turns him into nothing. Like,
Well, yeah, yeah.
because it burns right through the log. I was like, shit.
Oh, dude. So, and then nothing's left but just meat.
Yeah.
Ah.
Or when he takes the fucking shield and chops that dude's head off and chops down the tree at the same time.
Fuck.
I was like, dude, this movie is awesome.
Yeah,
There's so many
good.
There's
yeah.
so many good kills.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, like Ashley was like, we were sitting there, and that's one where I popped when I laughed because I was just like, that was incredible when he threw that fucking bear trap and just turned that dude into meat. I was like,
just
Jesus.
so
Yeah.
it was so much, and
Well, the wolf fight too made me go, holy shit.
yeah,
And then the bear fight, I was like, Jesus Christ. Because the bear fight, this shows you, and God, I love this movie, but this shows you how cocky this predator is, because you can tell it's a younger predator.
oh yeah,
Because he's sitting there and he's like the bear is raining its
It's
blood on
raining
him,
blood, yeah.
and it's covering up his cloak, and he's just sitting there going like, ah,
Yeah.
like, he's like this psychopath. It's amazing.
yeah. Ah,
Yeah, he's like,
it's like Andy
"Ah,
Dufresne.
give me
in,
the blood.
It's like Andy Dufresne washing himself clean. at
I'm
the
a
end
little
of
mad.
Shawshank Redemption.
I don't like how it ended though, because we didn't have a weird laugh from the predator. Like we had, and then an explosion. No, but the ending is great.
You know, the
Using
guy the guy who plays the Native American character in Predator. Have you heard about this? I cannot remember his name. But he plays Billy.
Yeah.
So they actually had to hire security to protect the rest of the cast from him. Sonny Langham, to protect the rest of the cast from him, because he was like notoriously like dangerous.
Wow.
Yeah. And then everybody got dysentery. Yeah, that was not a fun. From all accounts, working on the first Predator movie was not a fun.
Well, especially because they
not
had
a
to
blast.
redesign the creature after they started shooting.
Yeah.
So yeah.
My name is Jean-Claude Van Damme. If you cannot see Jean-Claude Van Damme, then I am not Jean-Claude Van Damme in the movie.
And I look like a fucking lobster. So, like the first design did not look good. Overall,
But regardless, it covered up his face, which you should have thought about.
so
that,
the ending
dipshit.
of this, I love the ending how she kills him
Did
and
we already get through this?
uses his helmet.
Yeah.
And then the pistol that she had, is the pistol that was on the ship in Predator 2.
That they give to Lieutenant Mike
Glover.
Harrigan.
Which worries me because that also means if there's a sequel, they're probably going to kill her whole tribe. Because how else do they get the pistol? They're going to show up, or at the very least, because if you watch the end, did you see the little painting?
I did.
And you saw the ship come back?
It's been said online that yes, that refers to 3 ships coming to. Yeah. So there's definitely a sequel coming.
Maybe. We don't know. That was
Fuck
clearly
you,
a
man.
tease. I think this because I think this did huge numbers on Hulu. This was also on Disney Plus, and I think it did.
Really?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me that? I wouldn't have signed up for Hulu.
I thought you knew. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Only Murders in the Building is back, so I need to watch season 2.
There's some good shows on Hulu.
Fuck you.
All right.
They have all 7 seasons of Just Shoot Me.
I will say though, I am a little bummed that this didn't go to theaters because I feel like this would have been a perfect movie to watch in a theater.
The cinematography easily.
But I think
screamed.
I think that Disney was trying a different approach because that the Predator franchise had been so much like Terminator. I think a lot of people were disinterested.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to do something drastic, and they thought, hey, if this doesn't work out, at the very least, it's just on Hulu or Disney Plus.
Did you see the director of Dark Fate came out and said he wished he wouldn't have done the movie?
Yeah, I did see.
Well, thanks for making the movie, dickhead.
Well, I know it's for your long box. You can talk about this comic book resources article.
Yes.
So we'll get to that. It's time.
Okay.
Well, overall, I think both of us really, really love the movie.
Oh, we both give it a yes.
You could clearly, it was one of those movies where I really can't wait to watch it again.
Well,
I really want to rewatch it.
It was a lot like No Way Home and Batman and The Batman. Like it's just movies that just are so well done, and not comparing them to them.
There's so much thought and care put into this movie.
You can't really compare those 3. I'm saying like our reactions to those 3,
Mm-hmm.
like it definitely was not like the Eternals,
I would
where we were trying to convince ourselves that we liked it and then ended up realizing, oh, I didn't really like that movie after all.
I still think you liked it.
I do because I have more connection
God
to it.
damn it. I'm tired. For a movie that I don't like, we bring it up too much. But I will say this.
See, Patton Oswalt said there's an Eternals 2 coming out.
Yeah, just casually said that. So, we look at the movies that I've seen this year that have come out this year. And I'm someone who actually was someone that liked Multiverse of Madness. I still liked Love and Thunder.
I did too.
But honestly, I think this might be my favorite movie of the year. Like, I really, really like this movie. We'll see how Wakanda Forever is, but I think of all the movies that we would cover or have covered for this show, this is probably my favorite of the year right now.
You know what? Mine too, and I'm sure Wakanda Forever is going to blow my mind.
Yes.
But you know what else I've seen is that there's a Lego set coming out called King Namor's Throne Room.
Oh my!
Which means I'm finally going to have a fucking Submariner minifigure. God damn it, with little green shorts and everything, and pink pointy little ears.